Okay, we'll bring everyone back and we can finish off this part, right? And then we can move on to some other stuff today, all right? Put this stuff over here, okay? As we kind of wind up our semester and try to finish off a few things, okay? Alrighty. And let's see, I'll look at this because I can't even, it's hard to keep track of how many actual students we have. So we've got 14 people in right now. I think we have more than 14 today. We should have about 20 today, I think.
It's a Monday morning, so I think everyone's sleeping.
Okay, so there's 4, 8, 12, 20. There's about 23, I think. I think we got about 23 people. Yeah. Okay. All right. So 4, 8, 12, 16. No, maybe 19. Maybe 19. Okay, maybe that's it. Yeah. So 1, 2. Yeah, 19. All right. I got it. Okay. So team number 1, what are some bad points about building on the new green site? So who's team number 1?
I think I was team number 1.
Okay, yeah, Sherzod. Yes, that's correct. So give us something. Why is it bad to build on the new green site? Give us one reason.
So building on a new green site will destroy the virgin natural environment.
Destroy the natural environment. Okay. So that's the biggest thing, definitely. Yeah, you're going to kill the trees and rivers, lakes, mountains, whatever is existing there. Okay. And team number 2, how about you guys?
And it is also the loss of wildlife habitat.
Okay, so loss of habitat.
That's, I mean, one of the biggest reasons why a lot of species are getting extinct.
Species extinct. Okay. All right. Yeah, absolutely. Because they got nowhere to live. All right. And what about team number 3? How about you guys? There's some. Okay. Asadbek came in. So team number 3. Let me just get this down. So there's Asadbek. Okay. He's in. Team number 3. Who's in team number 3? It is Nodirbek, Bahodir, Avazbek, Shodior. Okay. No one. No one's. Okay.
So the negative side of building in green area can also destroy the animals. How can I say? It causes extinctions of animals.
Okay, all right.
Surrounding.
Okay, extinction of animals. Okay, all right. And team number 4, how about you guys?
Okay, so I think I'm team number 4, and I think depending on the type of building you are doing, I think there could be a lot of problems. So for example, getting the equipment there would be very expensive. And on the other hand, you might have all the resources like internet, like electricity and etc. in the rural area. So I think it's very inconvenient.
So you don't have the internet and electricity, you mean?
Yeah, it will be hard to get that kind of stuff in the rural area.
Hard to get, yes, definitely. Okay, all right, excellent. Okay, and team number 5, how about you guys?
So we think the 5th bad point is darker city. And we can explain it by, if you take example of, post-Soviet countries like Russia, right? There is less green sites, like parks, less of that. So that's why if you take a look on them on like any time, right? They seem way darker than in European countries, because in European countries, like even in Poland, right? They have so much green sites, even under train ways, they have green like covers, right? So it makes the city look brighter in European countries, and so destroying the green side make the city darker.
Okay, makes the city darker. Okay, all right. And I would agree, like over here, like with number 4, right? It costs so much money, right? To do that, right? Because you've got to build everything. You don't have everything, right? All those kind of infrastructure has to be built, right? And that's going to be a massive investment for your government. Might be a good investment, but it's still a massive investment. All the roads and water, electricity, gas, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I got you, Asadbek. I got you. Yes. So that's going to cost you a huge amount of money, you know, the internet, electricity, getting the equipment there. The whole initial cost is going to be one of the biggest ones, right? And then you get, these days, you get in environment protests. So here in Korea and other countries, there's a lot of that going on. So they want to protect some special animal, flower, special area. So oftentimes you get environmental protesters as well. And the other thing is the area tends to be like really isolated. So oftentimes you move out there, but there's nothing there. There's no schools, no hospitals, no gas stations, just you're kind of like sleeping there, and there's, you know, there's nothing anywhere around you. So it creates that kind of effect, right? There's no libraries, you know, nothing for you. It takes time to build all those things, right? So they create a kind of problem, all right? And the other thing is sometimes they kill what you might call the natural industry. So here in Korea, like in Songdo, they killed the fisheries industry to do the land reclamation on the ocean, and in Semanbum. And that fisheries industry was actually very profitable. It made a huge amount of money, and they killed that industry, right? And the other thing here, you know, I'm just talking about Korea, so I'm not sure about where you guys are, right? But in Korea, it's also a land speculation problem, because a lot of people are actually don't want to live there. They're just buying apartments as kind of like a stock market kind of thing. And the price of land goes up and down. And this can create bubbles and create kind of like economic problems as well out here. So that's part of the issue. All right, so that's good. We've got that idea, and we've got all that kind of stuff taken care of. That kind of finishes question 4 on the final exam. All right, so now what I want to do is I just want to, as briefly as I can, I want to talk to you about the listening number 1. So we had this kind of, you know, space where we did the test. We, you know, a week hiatus, right? But there was 2 listenings that I posted. And the first one, I'm going to go over it just a little bit, right? And then we're going to have time for a conversation activity today as well. So I'm going to try to move as quickly as I can. There's 2 speakers in it. Mr. Positive, that's not their names, but that's what I call them because it's easiest to think of it that way. And Mr. Negative. And they're 2 men who are talking about the same thing, but have totally different opinions. As if both of you ate the same pizza, but one of you said this pizza is wonderful, and the other person said this pizza is horrible, right? So you're both talking about the same pizza, but you have radically different opinions. So they're talking about this area called West Side. And this just helps you to get some idea about development issues, right? And Mr. Negative is opening the conversation, right? And Mr. Negative said that 30 years ago, it was a thriving industrial area, okay? So 30 years ago, it was a thriving industrial area, okay? So that means thriving, it was busy, lots of people, lots of money, you know, factories, right? That kind of thing, okay? But now he said it's ugly. It's a half empty wasteland. Oh my God, right? Okay, so it's very terrible. And there's a lot of abandoned buildings. So this is a kind of Rust Belt scenario where you guys, I'm sure, have studied about the Rust Belt. You know, a lot of the swing states in the recent United States election, right? Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and places like that. There used to be a lot of factories and the factories disappeared. You know what I mean? And the area is abandoned and this kind of stuff. Okay. Asadillo is here. All right. Let me just put him in. Okay. All right. Mr. Asadillo. All right. Okay. And then, oops, let me just continue here as quick as I can. All right. And they're talking specifically about a warehouse. And that warehouse has been abandoned for 20 years, right? And this guy says the warehouse is in terrible condition, right? He says it's in terrible condition. And he says the foundation needs serious work. And also, he said the concrete is in dreadful condition. Okay, so this is talking about this warehouse, right? So he says, when you're an engineer, right? Like my father built a lot of houses, him and his friends, right? And basically, you know, whenever they just look at the foundation's not good, concrete's not good, boom, it's the bulldozer. They don't care. So usually for engineers and architects, you know, no concrete, bad foundations, bad, boom, right? So it's trash, right? But this guy here, okay, I'm trying to get rid of that reflection for you, sorry. Mr. Positive, he's got a totally different opinion. And this is right at the beginning of the conversation where it's most important, really. Mr. Positive, he says it's a gold mine. And we're talking about exactly the same place, but he says it's a gold mine, right? And he says that for 20 years, there was not much happening. Okay, not much happening. But in the past year, right, people from the financial district have been moving there for cheap rent. Okay, all right. And also a restaurant opens every week. Okay, and the place is becoming trendy. It's becoming trendy. So what's happened is that young people, they get a good job after they finish university in the financial district, but too expensive to live there, right? So they're going to this old area to rent, right? And it's cheap rent. And then the restaurants and the cafes and the bars are following them. So suddenly it's becoming this funky, cool, trendy area, right? So, you know, it's like a circle, you know what I mean? The area was prosperous and then it died, right? And now it's coming back to life again, okay? As a trendy, cool area. Soon, this area will become too expensive and those young people will be kicked out. That will be the final stage, right? Right now, they can live there because it's kind of cheap, but not for very long. So industrial area, you know, dies, and now it's being kind of reborn, right? That's a cool, funky area for young, single, educated kind of people, right? Okay, something like yourselves, right? Okay, so after this, it's kind of ping pong, right? They just kind of go back and forth, which is easy and quick for me to describe. And then at the very end, they kind of reach a kind of compromise, which is also kind of interesting from the perspective of development issues, okay? So we'll just do it like a plus and minus kind of thing so we can move. All right, so Mr. Positive, okay, all right, just flipping the page. Mr. Negative, sorry, Mr. Negative, all right. I've got to get my stuff right today. It's a Monday. Mr. Negative said it looks like a prison, okay, and let's knock it down. So it looks like a prison, let's knock it down. But Mr. Positive says it has beautiful, original features. Remember that vocabulary, right? So he says, oh my God, right? Mr. Negative says it's going to collapse. Oh my God, right? Okay. Mr. Positive says it has lots of potential. So they're just kind of going back and forth with each other, right? You know, it's like punch and counter punch, right? It's kind of funny, I think, anyways. And then finally, you know, Mr. Positive says it has these red bricks and stone, and these are sympathetic to the area. So this is very interesting. He is using their technical people, they're engineers, architects, but they're using emotional language. And what it means is that buildings have to fit. He says, around here, it's red brick and stone. We need to use that, the original kind of materials, to fit in with what's going on. All right. Now, Mr. Negative, he's Donald Trump, right? Mr. Negative says, I want to build a landmark and I want to use glass and steel. So he says Trump Tower, right? I'm going to make Trump Tower. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be, you know, the king of this city, whatever city they're talking about, right? Okay. And then Mr. Negative, Mr. Positive, though, okay, is a lot smarter than Mr. Negative, all right? We learned this, okay? So Mr. Positive says, let's do both, okay? So he says, let's add a glass and steel extension. Let's add a glass and steel extension. Let's add flats, which of course means apartments, right? And even luxury apartments, right? And let's add shops, you know what I mean? So he says, no problem, right? We can have an extension, we can have shops, we can have flats, luxury apartments. Okay, Mr. Abror is here. I'll just let him in. Give me a second, all right? So Mr. Abror is here. All right. And then he says, or we could just do it a different way. All right. We can just keep the beams, wooden beams, right? And we can also keep the brick supporting walls. So this is kind of interesting. He says, but it's just decoration. So there's two kind of proposals. One is add the extension. Don't like that? How about we just keep some decoration on this building? We'll just have the beams up there. We'll have those little brick supporting walls, and bingo, bingo. We'll say it's a traditional building, right? And that'll solve all our kind of problems that we have, right? So Mr. Positive, he's not very honest, but he's very smart, all right? So he knows that there's a lot of protests, a lot of demos, a lot of court action, and he wants to avoid the conflict, and he's going to make a kind of fake traditional or historical building, right? By keeping some features, right? But he's going to keep it modern and make lots of money. This guy, Mr. Negative, he had the wrong idea. He's going to make everybody angry, right? So Mr. Positive is not honest, but he's smart, and he knows how to handle this situation by creating this kind of fusion concept to avoid problems. All right, so let's go over here, okay, all right, and let's do this, okay, then we'll give you guys something to do, all right. Okay, where is it? There it is. All right. So anyways, we did this kind of stuff last time. And this is what they would be kind of talking about, right? In his initial proposal, put the new glass and steel extension together with the original building, right? And the second proposal would be get rid of this, but only keep some original features. All right, so that was page 126 for this listening, right? Now what I want you to do is go here on page 127, and I want you to correct these. Can you see this? And it's not a grammar mistake, it's a factual error. So I want you to go in there and I want you to fix the factual errors as best you can based on, you know, what I just told you. Or if you did listen to it, you remember listening to it, or you might want to listen to it later on, right? It's on your iClass. It helps you with a final exam in terms of introducing you to some architectural issues, you know. That's what we want you to do. So take, you know, maybe 2 minutes or so, go through that, and then see if you can fix the factual mistakes that exist there, okay? We'll just give you a couple of minutes, right? And there's just a factual mistake in each sentence. In each of those 8 sentences, this is the Mr. Positive and Mr. Negative audio, right? Audio 1 from chapter 7. I'll give you another minute, all right? And each sentence has something wrong with it. Some factual error, okay? This is the Mr. Positive, Mr. Negative audio from chapter 7, audio number 1. This is page 127. All right, and that's not their names. I just call them that because if you listen to it, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, that they are exactly Mr. Positive and exactly Mr. Negative. But they compromise at the end because Mr. Negative is greedy and he wants money. All right, so let's take a look over here because we're going to speed up today. So both developers think a building development in West Side is a good idea. No, they disagree. That's why they're positive and negative. There isn't any regeneration going on in West Side. There is. There is. It's becoming a funky place to live. Cool, trendy for you guys. There has been a lot of investment in the past 20 years. No, in the past year. For 20 years, it was derelict. But for the past year, bingo. The developers think the best idea would be to knock down the warehouse. No, they want to kind of keep it and do things with it, modify it. The developers need to choose between a contemporary and a traditional building. No, they're going to mix the two of them together in their plan, right? And the building can't offer floor space. Yes, it can. It can offer. Shop units would have to be on the second floor. This one I didn't tell you about. They can be on the ground floor. Ground floor. And refurbishment would mean removing all the original features. No. They talked about they're gonna have that Christmas decoration supporting red brick supporting walls and the wooden beams. All right. Let's just do this together so we can speed up so we can do our conversation activity today, okay? All right. So it says here, I'm afraid we might be biting off more than we can chew. So your match is going to be doing a bigger job. You're trying to do more than you can do, you know? You put too much food in your mouth, you can't chew it, right? The project is way too big. You can't do that. Potential gold mine, right? That's really easy. It's, of course, money, all right? Like a prison, crazy easy. No one wants to visit there, right? And a new lease on life, that just means a new beginning. Very common for soccer, right? Your favorite soccer player, he's playing for one team, but he's not playing very well. So he changes teams in the transfer window in order to get a new beginning, fresh start. All right, so we got rid of that, okay? Now let's keep going over here, all right? And let's do our conversation. Let's do our conversation because that's what I want to do, and we're going to come back to this, all right? Don't worry about that. We're going to come back to that, all right? Okay, so I want you to look at this on page 131. Can you see it? Page 131. And we're going to divide our class into two pieces. And here's the problems that I want to look at, okay? There isn't enough parking, okay? And there's a tall building blocking the light. So you're thinking about, making something, right? Making a development, urban areas in the city, right? And this is a really common problem in Korea. Anywhere you go in Korea, there's not enough parking, right? And tall buildings block sunlight, okay? So we want to find out what solutions can you guys think, of for these problems, all right? Okay? So I'm going to get out of this and I'll write it on the board and I'll explain what I want and we'll put you in your group, okay? So over here, all right, we have parking, no parking, okay? Not enough parking. Not enough parking. So a very common problem in urban areas, especially here in Korea, right? So 5 solutions. And what we're going to do is we'll get teams 1, 2, and 3. You guys will work on this, but separately, okay? So in the breakout room, team 1, team 2, team 3, how do you fix this problem when there's not enough parking? What can you do? All right. And then the second problem was tall buildings block light. Okay. And then this is going to be teams 4 and 5. All right. And you need 5 solutions. Okay. All right. So there you go. So teams 1, 2, 3. What are the 5 solutions to, there's not enough parking? How do you fix that? What do you do? In teams 4 and 5, the tall building is blocking the light from, the smaller buildings, right? How do you fix that problem? Okie dokie. All right. So we'll put you in your teams and we'll give you a few minutes and then we'll bring you back. All right. So we want to get into this conversation activity. All right. So I'm going to open up all the rooms again. Here you go. Oops. We've got some people who are unassigned. Okay, so Asad, where we would put, there's team 5 only has how many people? Only 2 people? Okay, so we'll put Asadillo in, oh my God, team 5, okay. And then we'll put Abror in team 5 as well, okay. And then Asad Bek, we'll just put you in team 1, okay? There you go. All right, there you go. All right, everybody's got a team now, okay? Okay, 12:48. Okay, all right. I'll be back in 1 second. All right, go get ready to set up. Okay, all right, we're bringing everybody back, all right? So we'll look at two situations separately, okay? We've got the different teams working on that, okay? Just make sure I got that bit of reflection. The sun is always moving as I'm teaching these classes, so the reflection changes on the need lots of liquid today. And we got more students now too, so some people came in, right? So we have maybe 2 or 3 extra people. Let me see. Okay, all right. Let's leave it at that. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go like this. We're gonna start with a parking problem, all right? And then I'll just get one solution from each team, and then we'll go back and we'll get another solution. All right, so we'll start with one and we'll do it like this. So team number 1, what is a solution to the parking problem? Can you tell us?
Yes, Professor.
Mhm.
So with our team, we have discussed many solutions, and one of the most effective ones is, of course, to build more parks underground.
Okay, to build more underground parking. Okay.
Yeah. So we can limit the space as well by building more parks underground.
Okay, all right. And here in Korea, they usually have a B1 and a B2. So sometimes we talk about this with the Korean students, and perhaps they could make a B3, right? Maybe they could go down deeper as well, right? Okay. And team number 2, how about you guys? What did you guys think?
So we think that it would be better to improve the condition of public transport. So people who have like work on a daily basis would use it, and when they want to go to the extra trip, they would use their like private car.
Right. So improving public transport so people don't have, discourage them from using cars. And sometimes like in Canada, they have these like shuttle buses, right? That operate from like huge parking lots, but the parking lots are kind of far away, right? In some kind of area where there's lots of space. So, it's a similar kind of idea, right? Don't drive your car into the crowded area, right? Okay, good. And team number 3, how about you guys? What did you guys think?
We think another solution would be to use of mechanization. In Japan, they use lifts and elevators, which do wonderful things.
Okay, so mechanization, some kind of like parking tower, I guess is what you're talking about, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And then, so you got a building for people, you have a building for cars, and you can use those kind of car elevators, whatever they're called. And team number 3, can you give us one more? Do you have one more?
We can add overflow facilities. For example, extra parking facilities when the usual nearby parking is full
Okay.
during the holidays.
So more parking facilities, okay. All right, so build more parking areas, okay, all right. And what about team number 2? Do you have another one? Team number 2, do you have one more solution? Okay, all right. How about team number 1? Do you have one more solution?
Do you mean us, Professor?
Are you team number 1 or team number 2?
We are team number 1.
Okay, yeah. So do you have one more solution here?
Yeah, we have. So the first one was the elevator parks, but team number 3 mentioned about the mechanization. So another one is we can use misused and free buildings as a new parks, because we know that there are many buildings in the big cities. For example, in Kokand recently there was the misused building of the factory, and it was converted into a new park.
Okay, right. So there's some useless buildings, nobody's using them, and let's put some cars in there. Why not? Why not? All right, excellent. Team number 2, did you have another idea? Did you have an extra idea?
Yes. So the idea is that when people buy a new car, it must be required to have a slot for it. Like you cannot buy a car without the parking slot.
Yes. Good one. Can't buy a car without a parking space. Yes. Excellent. And then I think the Korean students in the previous class had the other idea from the other perspective, right? They said that you should make a regulation for the apartment people who are building the apartments, right? And they said you have to have enough spaces for everybody who is going to live in the apartment, or you cannot build the apartment, right? Because here in Korea, that's the general problem. They make the apartment, but there's not enough parking spaces. So these kind of solutions, no space, no car, right? Not enough spaces, you, the developer, don't get to make the building. I think those are good ideas. In Canada or the United States, they often use parking meters because they're so expensive, they're ridiculous prices. And if it goes over, when you're having lunch, then they have this kind of crazy parking police, and they will take your car away, and that costs even more money, right? So many people can't because of the expense and the fear of the parking police and the towing your car. And sometimes we also have this residence only designation. So they give you a kind of sticker, and the only people who can park there are people who live there, and no visitors are allowed to park there unless in some kind of special area, okay? And the only other one that I think might be what's going to happen in the future is some sort of like a computer app grid. So what I mean is that I think in the future, all of the parking spaces will be on like a computer grid. You know what I mean? Every place will be marked out on the computer, kind of like in a restaurant. They have that system with tables, right? All the tables are controlled by the computer. And I think, let's say you want to go somewhere, you have to go on the app and you have to, reserve your parking space. And if you don't, you can't drive there. So I think like at our university, many places, that'll be coming soon in the future. All the parking spaces will be digitally controlled, right? And so that may also solve the problem. You can't go to an area and then your parking spot is only for 1 or 2 hours or something, everything will be controlled by the computer, by applications. Okay, let's take a look at the next guys. Okay, so we got the parking thing figured out. And so now we'll just go ping pong. We'll go, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 with teams 4 and 5 about the tall building blocking out the light. Okay, so let me just change my view. All right. Okay, so team number 4, what is a solution to, this light blocking problem? How do we do that?
I think you can make buildings out of glass and position them correctly so that they reflect the sunlight into the street.
Okay, so make buildings out of glass and position them. Okay, so they reflect light. Okay, all right, so you should use your material should be glass and you want to position them so that they're going to reflect the light.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And team number 5, how about you guys? What's your solution?
So before building choose the angles so that the building will not block the light.
Choose angles, okay? Don't block light. Okay, so the angles are going to be really critical. So you're talking about like geometry. Make sure your geometry is correct before you do anything. All right, so geometry is going to be critical. Right, I better put 1, 2. Okay, we'll go like this. All right, so we're back to team 4. Okay, so team 4, do you have another solution?
Not really. We can have some time to think about it because we didn't know we needed like multiple solutions.
Yeah. We wanted 5 solutions. It's okay. So team number 5. Do you have another solution?
Yes. Actually, the idea was to build all the buildings on the same level.
Buildings on same level. Okay. Yeah. Why not? Why not make all buildings the same level? So that would cause the problem. So you don't get this constant competition of building a taller, and you keep playing this kind of game. All right. Okay. And then we're back to team number 4. Did you guys manage to think of anything, or do you want to add anything?
Maybe the positioning of the buildings, like maybe if you place them vertically instead of horizontally, they will block less light.
Okay, positioning. Okay, vertical instead of horizontal. Okay. And team 5, do you have another one that you wanted to add?
Yes. So the idea is to keep the distance between the buildings, so it will. To keep the distance between the buildings, so it will not.
Your audio is breaking up. Yeah, just try one more time.
To keep the distance between buildings.
Distance. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's your audio. The distance between buildings. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Because if they make enough distance between them, then it shouldn't be a problem, right? Absolutely. Because the problem arises because they're too close together, which is usually exactly right what happens here in Korea. Okay, so sometimes
we have the separate problem in UAE. We had the problem of removing sunlight from the streets.
There was too much sunlight.
Yeah, it was very hot. And they built buildings to specifically make the sunlight away from the streets. So it was shady.
So because it's so hot and there's so much sunshine there that they had, that's really, really interesting. That is really interesting. So sometimes they use this reflective glass. I think you mentioned that before. Here in Korea, they have this 63 building, and that used to be the tallest building in Korea, not anymore, but it uses that. They talk about it in audio 2. If you listen to audio 2, they talk about that, all right? And sometimes it's not a solution, but you just give people compensation because they lost their life. It's not a solution, but you know. And some people said small, like the positioning, exactly. Small building in front of tall building, not the other way around, right? Because you're always putting the tall building in front of the small building, right? And one student, he came up with a solution. He said, let's make transparent buildings. It does solve the problem, but it creates another problem because you have no privacy. So it's true, it does work, but I don't think anybody wants to live in a transparent building. Here is the best solution that I found to this situation. And I'll just, sorry, the light is always coming in here like this. So.
Professor, can I add something?
Yep, go ahead.
I'm not, I was not responsible for talking about this, but I had some opinion. So in London, you know, building glass, some kind of constructions is of course a good idea, but with positioning, we have to be careful. For example, in London, there is a glass building called Walkie Talkie. And when they built and when the construction was completed, the people and then the people nearby started some kind of very hot temperature, and even the cars nearby started melting because of the so much sunlight reflected by the building. So there is some kind of problems maybe happening because of the glass building. So I think we have to be really careful with positioning them.
Right. So they actually melted the cars?
Yes.
Oh my God, and they were
of the so much sunlight reflected.
Because it was a kind of spyglass effect, like when you're a kid and you get the sun through the spyglass and you kind of burn something. So interesting. Here's the one thing that I found, and I can show you this, and maybe you guys have seen this before, I'm not sure, right? And I'll just go to the first one. This is called the interlace, and it's in Singapore. And I haven't been to Singapore yet, but anyways, you can see it was the World Building of the Year in 2015, right? Okay, and it's sort of, they say it looks like Jenga blocks. I think it looks like Lego, but you know, whatever, right? And they've got this little blurb here, right? It says, the architecture community have praised the interlace. It says it incorporates sustainability features through careful environmental analysis of sun, wind, microclimate conditions, and integration of low impact passive energy. Anyways, that's quite a mouthful, but it sounds like they were trying to do something considering sun, wind, climate, you know, energy. Anyways, it looks like this. I mean, you can look this stuff, you know, you can see the idea, I guess, is not to block anybody's sunlight. Obviously, it's pretty expensive, right? These are luxury apartments, but maybe it'll have a trickle down effect, you know, over the years. And maybe at some point, you know, you'll be able to, normal people will be able to get this. And these are just some other pictures. I mean, you can go to the internet and, you know, you can see how they did it there. Some of them are bigger, some of them are better. Okay, that's an idea. That's the interlace. That's in Singapore. Okay, all right. And what do I want you to do? Here, I'm going to tell you what I want you to do for next class because we're going to be busy. All right. Oops. What am I doing over here? I don't want that. Okay, come over here. So share screening. Right. Sorry. And what we want you to do for next class, okay, is just read this, right? Okay, this is page 130, right? Okay, and then just do this matching here, all right? Don't do this one, number 4, don't do that, it's useless, okay? Just read this, all right, on page 100 and, what did I say? 130, right? Sorry. And then do this matching. And then next class, I can just tell you the answer really, really quickly so we can speed up, okay? All right, and then do this one too. And this is page 131. It's from the same activity. So you read this, and then you just do this, and you do this. Super, you know, it'll take you 5 minutes. And then next class, it'll take me 1 minute just to go over the answers, and we can accomplish more. All right? Then
4 and 5, right? Depending on
yes,
the text.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, no, yeah, that's right. Don't do number 4. Don't do number 4. This one here, don't do that one. Just do this one, number 3. Oops, okay. And do number 5. This one here is useless. Yeah, don't do this one. It's useless. And then think about these two. Here's 2 problems. There are no green spaces or parks, okay? And the traditional and the new buildings don't fit together. So you can just think about that, right? What do you think might be some solutions? So number 3 and 4, we'll look at that. And on page 132, look at this one here. You can do this one as well. Just, we can quickly go through this stuff, matching stuff, right? And finally do the, I've got it up there, right? I've got up the listenings there, number 1 and 2. So just listen to number 2 audio, and then we can do that, right? So today we did Mr. Positive, Mr. Negative. And next time, this audio has 4 people. It has a man and a woman, husband, wife. They're the kind of owners, and they're going to be talking to 2 architects, right? And so you can just listen to that. You know, just takes you a few minutes, and do this one. You have a 3 matchings to do. This matching, that's page 132, right? And then just do this matching on page 131 and this matching on page 130. So you just do the matchings, all right? They're pretty simple. And then do the audio, listen to the audio, and then think about what were your solutions be to number 3 and 4 there. Green spaces, not enough green spaces, and modern design of the development. Okie dokie? So that way we'll be able to talk about the listening, talk about this, and we can just quickly go through the matchings, and we can finish everything up next class, which will be our last class of the year. Okie dokie?
Okay. So Professor, I have a question.
Yeah.
I saw that my homework number 1 hasn't been checked yet.
No, I'm going to. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to soon, like maybe later tonight or tomorrow, like by Wednesday or so. I'm gonna give you some feedback. I've done it for 3 classes, and I have 3 more to go. So you can see the feedback. It's coming soon. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anyways, see you guys on Thursday. All right. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Have a nice day.
Thank you for the lesson.
Bye, Professor.
Okay, bye-bye.